Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the marketplace. Coming up, Importers and Exporters Association calls for swift action on the passage of laws to streamline operations in the shipping industry.
To look into the LI drafting, and I'm sure it is now at the constituting stage for it to be sent to Parliament, for Parliament to give it the approval.
£1 billion. However, there was a decline in 2024 by 24%. We'll tell you about it coming up.
You add the total number of exports from Ghana to the UK, as well as imports from the UK into Ghana, it totaled £1.6 billion.
Also ahead, a look into poultry farming in the northern region as farmers urge the government to prioritize support for local production.
For generations, indigenous poultry farming has been the lifeblood of our communities in the northern Ghana. Yet, despite our dedication, we face daily challenges that hinder our progress.
My name is Darryl Kwab. Details coming up. And first up, the Executive Secretary of the Ghana Importers and Exporters Association, Samson Asaki Awingobed, has called for swift action on the passage of the legislative instrument for the Ghana Shippers Authority. He emphasized that once enacted, the LI will strengthen enforcement mechanisms and streamline operations within the shipping industry. His call comes in the wake of the passage of the Ghana Shippers Authority Act 2024 in October last year. Speaking to Joy Business after a courtesy call on the newly appointed Chief Executive of the Ghana Shippers Authority in the person of Professor Ransford Jampo, Mr. Awingobed stressed the urgency of the LI's passage to ensure effective regulation of the industry.
We really advocate, and now we have a new Parent Shippers Authority Act. In fact, we were saying it should be amended, but at the end of the day, it was a fully fledged new Parent Act that was passed in the 8th Parliament, right? We are in the 9th Parliament. In the 8th Parliament for Ghana Shippers Authority. But, you know, they cannot just use the Parent Act to start working. It needs an LI. The LI will then draw its powers from the Parent Act. And so there was a, prior to December, there was a, November, October, November, there was a committee that was set up comprises all of us to look into the LI drafting. And I'm sure it is now at the constituting stage for it to be sent to Parliament, for Parliament to give it the approval. Then, full-fledged, the Parent Act is here, the LI is here, Ghana Shippers Authority can now regulate proper and can cause for arrest and can take someone to court for not respecting the law of the Shippers Authority and to enforce it to make sure that whatever negotiation, you know, they are part of their responsibility is to negotiate with port authorities, terminal operators, and even including shipping line for charges. So that's the charges. If it's not being approved by Shippers Authority, then you cannot introduce any charge. We have had a series of charges that this shipping line continued introducing to the verge that one shipping line is even introducing what we call on inland transport charge.
Now, Acting Chief Executive of the Ghana Shippers Authority, Professor Ransford Jampo, pledged to engage all stakeholders within the industry. He emphasized his commitment to ensuring the passage of the legislative instrument to regulate shipping business in the country.
We are still also consulting people, including shipping lines and all those who have been charging you. We are consulting all of them that they make input. But once we are firmed up on the legislative instrument and we commence the implementation of the law, we will do so firmly and fairly. For me, I don't believe in lackadaisical attitude. If I will do it, I'll do it. If I won't do it, I won't do it. I don't believe in mediocrity. I'm a fair-minded person. And so we would implement the law following the conclusion or the passage of the legislative instrument in a manner that would protect the interest of the shipping lines, in a manner that would also protect the interest of both importers and exporters and every stakeholder within the shipping fraternity. So we'll be fair in doing some of these things, and things that are unfair we will disallow, and we will do so all with the view to ensuring that Ghana deepens its international trade and shippers' interests are protected. And so this is what we are fired up to do. So just give us a little time. In fact, the whole day, my team here, they have been talking about or discussing the LI that would kickstart the implementation of our law. And I've always argued that we've all traveled before. When we travel to other people's countries, we see their laws and we comply with the laws.
Yes, sir.
So regardless of how long we've stayed in Ghana, Ghana is a sovereign country. If it makes us take laws and you're a foreigner, you must comply. The same way an indigene or a local person must also comply.
Now, export and import between Ghana and the UK was pegged at £1.6 billion in 2024. This is according to the UK-Ghana Chamber of Commerce. According to the president of the Chamber of Commerce, exports to the UK declined by some 24% due to some challenges affecting local businesses. Let's listen to Ajoba Achama speak to my colleague James Ishen.
So, trade between the UK and Ghana in 2024, when you add the total number of exports from Ghana to the UK, as well as imports from the UK into Ghana, it totaled £1.6 billion. In terms of exports from the UK to Ghana, so imports into Ghana, that showed a slight increase. However, exports from Ghana to the UK declined, thereby leading to a 24% reduction in the total volume of trade as against 2023.
The question is, what really amounted to that decline?
It's very difficult for me to say because I haven't really interrogated those numbers. But you'll notice from our 2024 reports that we have a segment on the manufacturing sector. And so, given the sentiments that were expressed in our reports, I can safely say that it was a difficult period for the manufacturing sector, and so it will be expected that export volumes would also decline.
Now let's touch on your reports that had to do with the 2024 business environment report. Now, on that particular report, I mean, there have been some concerns and some positives in there. One of my key concerns had to do with these SMEs. I mean, being more competitive out there. From your point of view, how do we handle this going forward?
So, you know, as a chamber, we do a lot of capacity building webinars, and these are open to anybody that would like to sign up and listen and learn. And it is for this reason that we do this, to be able to target the micro, the small, the medium-sized businesses who would not typically be able to afford our membership. If we kept everything that we had to offer to only our members, only our current membership, what then happens is that it precludes others who could possibly be able to scale up and join us from being able to access our membership.
All right, we head up north next, where the Northern Indigenous Small and Medium-Scale Poultry Farmers Association is urging the government to prioritize support for local poultry farmers in that region. Now, for years, support has mainly gone to exotic poultry farmers, leaving locals behind. The association, with over 3,000 members, wants 90% of President Mohammed's poultry support to go towards rearing local fowls and 70% towards quality feed and medication. Here's more.
The association's membership, which came from the 16th district of the Northern region, advocated for district-level hatchery centers to be established to help local farmers hatch their eggs. The Deputy Secretary of the association, Suleimana Jafar Zakia, said raising local birds is a sustainable source of livelihood and food for the country and the farmers.
We humbly remind you of your campaign promise to support poultry farmers in Ghana with the Akoko Nkete project. For generations, indigenous poultry farming has been the lifeblood of our communities in the northern Ghana. It feeds our families, employs our youth, and sustains our traditions. Yet, despite our dedication, we face daily challenges that hinder our progress. The high cost of feed, the scarcity of medication, poor housing for our birds, and the lack of reliable hatching facilities make it difficult for us to thrive. We believe that with the right support, we can overcome these obstacles and contribute even more to Ghana's food security and economic growth. We kindly request that the support promised in the form of Akoko Nkete be directed primarily toward the rearing of our local poultry breeds. Specifically, we propose that 90% of this support be allocated to indigenous birds such as the local cockerels, local layers, local guinea fowls, turkeys, ducks, quails, and pigeons. We further request that 70% of the support be provided in the form of quality feed and medication. Many indigenous farmers hatch up to 200 birds at a time and can record up to 85% survival rate, unlike the foreign breeds. But they end up selling all of these birds prematurely, hence they do not make much profit. By addressing these challenges, we believe that raising local birds can become a sustainable source of livelihood for farmers. Indigenous birds have proven to be excellent sources of food and income due to their early hatching rates, fast growth, and adaptability to local diets. Also, to boost productivity, we propose the establishment of district-level hatchery centers equipped with modern-day incubators. These centers will allow farmers to, even with a small number of birds, as small as 1 to 20, to bring their eggs for hatching, significantly increasing the number of birds produced. This approach is more efficient than relying on natural hatching by the birds themselves.
The chairman of the group, Basudin Isifu, said over the years support has always been channeled to the exotic birds leaving the local farmers.
Most people think that whenever you mention poultry, they think of layers, broilers, and cockerels. So due to that, we have been left behind. We have not been considered. Only few people that are around that are doing this broilers or layers that sometimes are considered. But majority of us are not. We are not just considered. When you go to Seville market now, there are hundreds of birds in the market, all the markets across. But you don't see any of these foreign birds being there. And birds that also are taken to these markets are being sold out. So this tells you that the local birds that we rear here are very important to our economic needs here.
All right, let's switch topics. Let's talk about cashew. This time in the Bono region, the Tree Crops Development Authority has engaged the Bono Regional Minister Joseph Adai Akwabwa on revamping the cashew industry. Now, the courtesy visit by the acting Chief Executive of the authority, Dr. Andiose Okwa, was also to strike a strategic partnership with the minister to help attract investors to establish factories in the region. Here's more.
Cashew, which is one of the tree crops being promoted under the Planting for Export and Rural Development Program, is largely produced in the Bono region. It is a well-known fact that the region is one of the highest producers of the commodity in the country, with a total land size of 11,107 square kilometers, representing 5% of Ghana's territorial land. However, the region is hit by lack of factories and innovative technology to produce in large quantities. According to the regional minister, Joseph Adai Akwabwa, the region is also battling with illegal mining.
Cashew is a cash crop that is now emerging, and it has so many potentials. And if we think towards developing that area, it will create employment and it will improve the economy of Ghana. We have cocoa, but now cashew is emerging. And as I've already told you, there is a lot to it, which we will need to look at and develop that area so that it will help to create employment in the near future.
The Acting Chief Executive Officer of Tree Crops Development Authority, Dr. Andiose Okra, assured the region of a collaborative effort to boost cashew production in the community.
I think from what the regional minister stated, he himself is ready to support us to move the cashew industry forward because he understands it and he knows this is the hub of the cashew. And he has even demonstrated by giving us an office to set up a regional office here. That's a strong point. So from here, we are going to focus all attention and energy in Bono and making sure the cashew really become the center of Bono. And as he's saying, from here we are going to Sampa. And whatever the challenges are, we are going to make sure that we deal with everybody and let them have the assurance that even the regional minister, one of the key stakeholders here in the region is.
The region with 12 administrative, municipal and district areas has about 8 of its districts focusing more on the cultivation of the commodity.
You're watching The Marketplace. We are taking a short break. When we come back, let's talk tech. And welcome back from that break. I want to talk tech next. The African fintech sector experienced a significant shift in 2024 with total funding dropping 45% year-on-year to $857 million, down from $1.6 billion in 2023. Now, this is according to the Africa Fintech Landscape 2024 report published by Global Financial and Technology Networks in collaboration with Future Matters Center of Excellence. The decline, according to the report, aligns with a global fintech funding downturn of 20% for a third consecutive year as contained in the S&P Global 2025 report. Let's make sense of this. I'm joined by lead for Eyes of Africa, Henry Kobler. Good afternoon to you, Henry. So what are your thoughts on this decline, and what does it say about investor sentiments?
Thank you very much, Doug. So it doesn't really look all that bad. I mean, right from the over last 3 years. I think that this year, as of 2024, there was a bit of upward where we had tripled the values from almost about 226 million to almost about 630 million. So that looks like a bit of recovery right from the past 3 years, where there's always been a downward trajectory of funding. Now, it is imperative to also realize that these fundings are just coming in from equities. And so they're just from venture capitalists or shareholders, which are basically coming in from acquisitions and mergers in there. And so they really do not encompass the other major funding sources apart from just the equity financing sources that are coming in. But again, it's also important to note that that has also been the major part of funding for most of the fintech communities. And here in Africa, I can really tell you that there's been a lot of controversies when it comes down to the fintech communities. I mean, we've realized quite a number of issues, especially with the big four fintech hubs, which are in Africa, South Africa, Nigeria, Egypt, and Kenya. I mean, they really account for almost about 76% of the total funding that is coming in. And again, there's been a lot of controversies with most of the unicorns and fintech communities and applications that are sort of rolled out in these countries.
Yeah, just to be clear, no cause for alarm, is that what you're saying? And really, what are the implications if funding is going down by, what, 40%?
Yes, I'm emphasizing on that. I mean, there's no really cause for alarm. We're supposed to see an upward trajectory. I mean, in 2028, we're expecting that we have almost about 47 billion in revenue when it comes down to the fintech markets. And so it's really not that scary. Globally, we're experiencing this downward investment into these fintech communities. But Africa seems to be looking in a particular direction where it looks promising for most of the fintech communities. And I think that a lot more due diligence would be in place when these fundings are sort of coming in.
I mean, you mentioned the big fintech hubs in Africa. I mean, where does Ghana stand in all of this based on this report?
I think that here we've actually discussed ZP even having some major funding coming in and its expansion all through rolling into Africa. And so generally in Ghana, I think that there's been that point where governments, even the new government, is sort of looking into investing directly into the fintech communities. I mean, that KTM is about 50 million into that space. Looks like there now is more of government insight into some of these fintech communities. It looks good. We're looking at government activities when it comes down to cryptocurrencies and the blockchain technologies as well. That could also boost that effort in terms of policy and guidance, and also being able to allow the central banks to sort of look into that space and giving more into the fintech community aspect. I think that it really looks good, especially from us. In Ghana, it's not going to be that bad. I think that more of corporate organizations are also going to start looking into the space, more banking collaborations as well. I think that it looks good from my point of view. It's only that we really have to put in a lot more effort. I think that same as if e-levy is taking off the electronic transfers, it's also going to sort of boost a lot more people having that confidence in the fintech community in itself.
All right, Henry Kobler, lead for Eyes of Africa. Thank you so much for joining us for this segment. Appreciate it. And before we go, more news on our website, nigeriaonline.com/business. Head there for the day's latest stories. My name is Darryl Kwa. Thanks for watching. We will be back same time tomorrow.